Hi, everybody who are just joining. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Charlie. I'm the Wild Screen Art Program Manager who's just going to be leading the webinar for today. We've also got Jacob, who is one of my colleagues for Wild Screen, who's doing a lot of admin. So he's the kind of person behind the chat, making sure everything's going all right. We'll just wait for a couple more people to join if they want to. And I think there's going to be some information in the chat as well for you to have a look at. Nice one. Cool. Hello, people who are just joining. My name's Charlie. I'm the art program manager. So I work for Wildscreen, which is a charity that supports the wildlife filmmaking industry. And we've been working with the West of England Combined Authority to produce the Wild West Film Competition. So we'll give it a minute or two just to for people to join if they're running late. I'll just put a little slide up for the competition, although I'm sure that some of you have seen the information for it already. It might be worth going to wildscreen.org/ARC. I think that link's now in the chat as well. This is kind of the landing page for all the competition with all the links and things that are related to it. And we'll get started shortly. With 1 sec. Great. So I think I'm just sharing our main slides for today. Hi, everybody. If you're just joining, something you might want to do if you're representing an organization today, might be a school or a community organization. If you want to put that in the chat, it'd be nice to see where you're coming from today. Can sort of help us work out where all our communications and things are going to. Say hello if you want. Hi, Reese. Get started in just a couple of minutes, folks. Just waiting for a couple more people to join. Hi, Alice. You're right. Nice to see you. Hi, Sherilyn. I think I was emailing you separately, wasn't I? Nice to see you coming from Redcaps. That's actually quite local to where I live. So that's really nice to see. Okay, so we'll get started. And if anybody joins, they could just join halfway through, I guess. Thanks for joining us all today. Really, so just, well, I guess, good afternoon, and we'll do some introductions as well. Welcome to the West of England introductory webinar. Sorry, not the West of England, the Wild West introductory webinar. So we're really excited to be talking about this brand new competition for young people that we're running over the summer. I'm Charlie, the Wild Screen Art Program Manager. So I'm going to be talking probably a lot today. It might be a bit broadcasty, sorry about that. But I'm going to talk through the majority of the webinar. I've also got Jacob from the Wild Screen team as well, who's in charge of housekeeping. I think some of you already shared in the chat which organization you're representing. So that's really, really great. those of you who've done that already. There's also a link in the chat for a link to our main sort of landing page for the competition. This is wildscreen.org/arc. It might be worth having that open in your browser. We're going to talk about that and about how all the different parts come together for the competition today. Cool. So yeah, this is the introductory webinar. I put some bits, the key bits information on the main slide at the start. This is the competition date. So we launched the competition on May the 10th, but it's running all summer long until August the 31st. It's all about getting young people into nature, asking them to use their smartphones to record like the nature in their neighborhood and what it means to them in photography, or using short films that are up to about a minute long. There is a QR code that takes you straight to the ARC website there as well. And also you see the logos of the partners that are producing the competition as well. So we've got Wildscreen. So we're a charity, we're a conservation charity that support the wildlife filmmaking industry. And the program that I run is called Wildscreen ARC, which is an online nature education hub for kids. So we're all about getting young people into nature and enthusiastic about it and learning more about it. We've also got the West of England Combined Authority and the Metro Mayor, Dan Norris, that have really kindly supported this competition and really sort of made it all happen, to be honest. They've been supporting us through this whole process, putting in touch with you guys as well. I imagine it's through their communications that you've kind of got in touch or heard about the webinar itself or the competition. Great. So welcome. So today the webinar structure is pretty simple. We'll just talk briefly about the Wildscreen ARC and Wild West competition, what it's all about. We've put aside 45 minutes for the webinar, but we'll see how we go. I don't know if it will take that long. I know everybody's super busy, particularly for teachers as well. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. So the main purpose of the webinar is to introduce the film and photography competition. We'll go through the terms of entry as well. One of the ideas around the competition itself is that entries can actually be featured on the Wildscreen ARC platform, which means it's not just, you can't just enter any photo. There are some conditions around it that it's worth entrants having an idea about. We'll also introduce you to the sport resources on Wildscreen ARC as well. So the Wildscreen ARC has a lot of educational resources, but we're using this to host all the support resources that any kind of supporting adult might enable young people to engage with the competition. And we know people might do that in a whole range of different ways as well. And at the end, there's a good opportunity for a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them into the Q&A box as you go. If you put them into the chat, I think Jacob will just move them over later and we'll address them as they go. So here's the main information poster for the competition. It's got a lot of the key information that entrants might need to know. For example, the prizes available, the location of the resources as well on the QR code. There's also the main website. There is a printable version of this you can use to advertise the competition. So we'd really encourage you, if you have a space where you could advertise it, if you're in a school, for example, we would really encourage you to print it out or get teachers that might be engaging kids to do this. That would be a really great thing for us. The main purpose of the competition is to get young people to connect with the nature around them and have a go at making some content for the chance to win some great prizes. We're really happy to have Bluestone, the national park luxury accommodation provider, and also London Camera Exchange offering these great prizes for the competition of a camera and a family winter light stay as well. It's worth mentioning that shortlisted entrants will also get their work featured on Wildscreen ARC at the Wildscreen International Film Competition in Bristol, October, and also displayed locally to them. So we've got some money to actually put some of the entries actually on bus stops from the postcodes that students might actually apply. We know it's really important, that we kind of celebrate the work of young people as well, particularly, and how they engage with nature. So we really want to make this something that, is displayed publicly and celebrated. We'll also put shortlisted entries on displays on College Green in October and November as well. So this is something we really, really want to promote. Really, we think that young people have a huge amount of skill, and also they have a lot of creative ability to show and document how they're interacting with nature. And we really want to sort of enable them to do that in the best way possible. So from your perspective as a teacher or community leader, you can do this as involved or hands-off as you like, really. You might want to work through the process over a couple of sessions, or just introduce them to it and set it off. The most important thing is just to make sure they know the terms so that they can enter and make it as easy as possible. So here are the terms of entry. We'll just talk through a couple of those. So the competition dates are from May the 10th to August the 31st, 2024. For young people aged 13 to 18 years old, this is from the closing date of the competition as well. So for example, if somebody turns 13, but it happens in August, for example, before August 31st, they'll still be able to enter. It's important to mention as well, it's only open to postcodes in Bath and North East Somerset, Bristol and South Gloucestershire. This also goes for schools as well. So if perhaps like a student doesn't live within that postcode, but the school that they go to or the community organisation is based within those postcodes, then that's fine. The main thing is it's an opportunity for them to express creatively what the nature in their neighbourhood means to them. And this can be all different types. It doesn't have to be like really showy nature or anything, or, you know, we're not expecting it to be kind of the next planet Earth. It's really about how they authentically connect with the nature around them through photos and short films, which are a maximum of 1 minute long. One of the terms of entry as well is that we don't have humans in shot. This is because there are a lot of model release permissions around that. So we want to make it about the nature that's around them and about the species that they interact with. So that's one of our terms of entry. There are 2 age group categories as well. So there's 13 to 15 years and 16 to 18 years. When they submit their entry, they'll be asked to give their age, and that means we'll just sort them into those age brackets. To make this as accessible as possible, we want it to only be films and photographs taken on smartphones. Although we think this might create a little bit of challenge as well. We kind of want everybody to know that they, you know, will have the equipment to be able to take some pretty good images, and we want to see what they can come up with. I think also because young people connect with, you know, social media in the way that they do, that this is a good opportunity for them to think about the nature that is around them and how they can share that. There's lots of time, obviously, because of the long kind of period that it's open for. So it'd be great if you're a supporting adult, you know, to take some time to explore, think about a film, think about what they might actually go out and photograph, but also think about, you know, the time period they've got, that they've got a lot of time to try and focus on something. The prizes, so for 30 to 15-year-olds, the winner will receive this luxury 3-night family stay at the Bluestone National Park Resort in Pembrokeshire. For 16 to 18-year-olds, the prize is a Canon R100 camera and lens that's from the London Camera Exchange. And there's 2 runner-up prizes for each of the 2 age categories as well. It doesn't actually matter in terms of the way that we've set up the judging and the scoring for this. It means that the photos and the films are judged sort of side by side. So they can enter a photo and they'll be, or a film, and they'll go into whichever one of the prizes that are available for their age category. All shortlisted entries will also be featured on Wildscreen at Arc, at Wildscreen Festival, and local to entries on bus stops as well, and on College Green, as I just said. So those are the terms of entry. To access this kind of information and all the rest of the information, we have a landing page that I've already shared with you, wildscreen.org/arc. This is the main point of information for entrants and supporting adults, and each button that is here is a link to the resources. You can see the link to submit entries, the link to the support resources, and also a link to sign up for our community and education newsletter. This is a really good way for you to keep up with the competition and as it progresses, but also, you know, to receive lots of other information about opportunities within wildlife filmmaking, sort of, well, I guess everything that falls within the Wildscreen remit. So we might promote things like different different initiatives related to conservation in the area. There's a lot of different information that you might get through the community and education newsletter. If you go to the link, sorry, at the bottom, which is the download competition support resources, I kind of want to spend a little bit of time to talk about these because we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just people going out with a camera and seeing what they could photograph. We wanted sort of to increase the skills of young people in actually how they can document and talk about nature around them, and also make sure they're doing it with some authority as well in terms of knowing what they're looking at too. So we've put together a whole range of resources that will enable them to do that. If you go to the Wildscreen Arc website, which is via that link, or just wildscreenarc.org, you'll see at the top right, there's a part called Education Resources. If you click that link, that'll take you to where the support resources are kept. And you can download a package of all those resources for the Wild West competition. Within that pack, there is 8 different resources that you can access. I mean, we're not expecting potentially people could use every single one of these, but also, you know, people could jump in and out of different ones depending on how they want to approach the competition. We would encourage, obviously, the entrants to have a good read of the resources supplied before starting out. If you're running this as an activity for students, there's a teacher presentation that you can use to sort of read through and introduce the whole competition for students. It's also got some notes on guidance for entrants, as well as full details for the supporting resources too. So if you're a supporting adult or teacher, this is kind of the first place to start, will be the sort of teacher presentation that's there. There's obviously a lot as well, so it's really up to you how much you use. So, you know, different students or different young people might have different levels of skill. Yeah, they can jump in and maybe have a look at all the different things and learn what they can from different areas. The full handouts, we've got the terms of entry in full as well, which would be a good read to go through just so that we know how that works. There's also a frequently asked questions document that's on the Wildscreen/Art website too, where you can, you know, there's a lot of questions there too, where you can find out more information about those different terms. We've also produced a handout on finding nature to do with like where they can find nature and how to connect with it in their local area. Some tips on identification using new technology tools that are out there. There's a section on safety and ethics, because obviously we want young people to be safe when they're going out and about trying to get some snaps. And also about ethics of interacting with wildlife. And yeah, like the kind of the basics of how not to stress animals out or how to leave things as you find them. We've got a resource on finding and telling your story. This is particularly useful if for a story in terms of making a short film, there might be a particular theme they'll want to follow, and we'd encourage them to think about that and use it. There's a handout on shooting photos, one on making short films, a presentation on the submission and judging process with a bit more information for that. And also something we've produced with Career Pilot on careers in natural history generally. So this might be something, you know, if you were running this as an introductory activity, this would be something that you could supply a young person as well if they were interested in doing it, you know, for a career later on. I've got some previews here of what those handouts look like. So we've done an accessible terms of entry handout for entrants as well. It's got some guidelines on sort of photos. We've tried to make that as accessible as possible. There's also a great handout on how to find and identify nature, which includes guidance on how to access nature locally, how to identify species, and also some highlighted areas that are part of the West of England Combined Authorities nature recovery initiatives as well. So there's some quite good suggestions. For example, if young people are maybe wanting to go a little bit further afield, then they can actually find some places where they can find a bit more nature rather than just their local park. However, we fully understand that actually a lot of the nature is the stuff that's right on young people's doorstep. So it will be in their gardens or in their parks. And they're fully valid bits of nature to feature for the competition. It's more about the way that the young person is interacting with it that we think will have, you know, the biggest value. If you're a teacher, then for like these handouts, It might be more difficult for you. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to take them out necessarily to these kind of nature spots, but it would be a good stimulus to get them thinking about where they can find nature locally, to start a conversation about, whether they're actually going out and doing those things, potentially as like ideas of where they could go with their parents, for example, or if they're a bit older, if they could, plan a little outing with some friends or something to go and do it. That might be worth doing. There's a PowerPoint on safety and the ethics of taking photographs of or films of nature, which might be worth going through, because again, I guess you can have a discussion with any of the points raised. We've got a part, just general advice about staying safe while filming. Obviously, we don't want people taking selfies or taking photos and falling off ledges and things like that. So it's good just to be aware of what is around them, weather, those kind of things. Also, with the safety aspect for the wildlife and nature, obviously, as a conservation organisation, we think it's really important that we sort of interact with those things in a way that's ethical. So there are slides in there about how we can ethically interact with nature. And this links back to the terms of entry as well, because some of those terms, we won't shortlist entries that are actually showing those kind of unethical interactions with nature. So it would be worth having a good look at those, just if people are starting out new or fresh or coming to nature as a new thing. There's a handout also about finding and telling a story. Storytelling is something that within the wildlife filmmaking industry is a particularly large theme. And also from Wildscreen's perspective, this is something that, we think stories have probably the most power in communicating about nature and enabling people to take action for it or, connect with it. There is a section for the photos and the videos on storytelling or the story within the judging. So it's worth getting the entrants to have a think about what kind of story they're trying to tell with a photo or a film. We've added a section on the submission form as well to give more information about this too. There's also a handout about general techniques for shooting photos as well. Although we think young people are probably pretty good at doing it, but it will get them to think about different types of shot and how you can communicate sort of different, things that are happening within that shot as well. And also how to edit photos to get the best out of them. The key rule for this one, for the competition, is not misrepresenting nature, but we do encourage editing to make things look as realistic as they were in the actual moment as well. And the same goes for video too. The handout that's about making short films is really talking about short form video, and again, this is not videos that would qualify ones that aren't more than a minute long, but you'd be surprised how much story you can show in a minute. Anybody who uses TikTok will be able to see that. There's some general guidance on planning a shoot if they're trying to show something in a bit more detail. Again, this might be for older entrants particularly. But I think the most important thing is allowing them to explore and see what works creatively as well. So again, if you're a teacher, for example, it might be the case that you introduce this and start, people on their creative journey, but then young people might then just pursue this over the summer and get an entry in as well. There's also plenty of advice as well on how to access sort of free edit software as well, because we thought that might be a major barrier. However, there is a huge amount of free edit software available. I know schools might have access to those too. And you'd be surprised also how many of those free edit software companies, have how-to videos on YouTube for how to use it. We don't have a particular affiliation with one of them. So we've kind of signposted where to find that information online. Finally, we also made something on careers in natural history as well. Oh, I forgot something quite important. With short films, audio is something that's quite important as well that might be worth highlighting. Young people might be tempted to try and use video editing on Instagram or TikTok, but we're kind of not encouraging this. The main reason is because if they were going to do that, they can't then save it with the music. And also they won't have the right to use it in their films either if they have particular bits of music. So there are some tips within the Making Short Films handout that are about accessing rights-free music, or even encouraging them to make their own soundtrack or do their own audio. We'd fully encourage that kind of creativity. That sounds really cool. Then moving on to the careers in natural history one, there's a handout about careers in natural history generally. And we've created this in consultation with Career Pilot. If students want to know more about how these skills can build into careers in the natural history industry, then this is a great starting point for them. We're not necessarily just talking about film and television within natural history, but also within the conservation, not-for-profit kind of sphere as well. I mean, there's a huge amount of resources that you could produce relating to sort of green jobs or jobs involving natural history as well. So this, again, is a starting point for them, really, and maybe something to point them onto if they want to know more. Finally, there is a PowerPoint as well that guides entrance through the submission process, and some guidance on how the judges will score the entries. We're going to release some more information about the judges in July for this. We've got some really great judges involved, as well as Dan Norris, the Metro Mayor, and our CEO, Lucy Muir. We've also got a range of quite young people who work within the natural history sphere, and therefore that we're going to get some nice sort of diversity of opinion within those within that judging. Also within the how to submit your entry, there's some guidance on how to submit videos. The way we're asking people to do that is to upload it, their video as an unlisted video on YouTube, and then send us the link. They don't have to make it public if they submit if they upload it as unlisted. We'll then contact them if we shortlist them, and we'll then contact them for the high resolution video for later on. The submission link is on the original Wildscreen website landing page, that wildscreen.org/arc. This takes to the form for submission. There's a bit of a reminder as well about the key terms that they're trying to aim for. But the thing to remember here is that students need to submit the name of the species their photo or film is about as part of the form. This is quite an important thing. I mean, there might be multiple species, for example, but we want them to try and identify correctly at least one. This is also about how we can then feature their stuff on Wildscreen Arc, because we have a species level approach for Wildscreen Arc. I'd really encourage anybody who hasn't seen Wildscreen Arc yet to have a look at it. It's basically a huge film and photo database of species in the UK, and it's only ever growing. We launched this in February, but yeah, the whole point of this, I guess, is that young people can have their work featured as part of that larger database of photos and videos, and we really want to kind of show off their stuff, so they need to be able to identify a species correctly. If they don't quite get that right, obviously we'll check their video, and if there's something that we think people might have misidentified, we're not just going to immediately eliminate them. We'll go back to that young person and like probably say, oh, do you think it might be this? And it's not like we're going to be mean if they don't quite get it right, especially things like, I guess, insects as well. ID for that is particularly challenging. So yeah, we'll plan to support as much as we can with that process. In terms of information supplied as well, we've tried to keep this to a minimum for GDPR purposes. But obviously, we do need to have a contact email in case they do win, and their postcode, and a name as well. So that's the form. There's a little bit after that as well about saying thank you for entering as well. We're also going to add something that's a sort of evaluation form for afterwards as well, in terms of how the resources were used or which ones were the most useful. Okay, so I think that is a lot of me talking. As I said before, there is a full FAQ available at wildscreen.org/arc. Shall we have a look to see if there's any questions? I'll stop sharing and you'll just see my face, I think. We haven't got any questions so far. If you want to put any comments or anything like that, that's also fine. I'm guessing we might have covered everything in that case. Oh, thanks, Reese. Yeah, I'm not just hanging here waiting for questions. If you have any questions, obviously, that come up later on, feel free to just send us an email. We've got an ARC mailing box as well that we can get to. That's arc@wildscreen.org.uk. I actually did have, apologies. Hey. There we go. Oh, I'm sharing the wrong thing there. Whoops. Sorry, folks. There we go. Yeah, so if you have any other questions, please just contact arc@wildscreen.org.uk. You can also sign up to keep track of the competition, as I said before, using our community and education newsletter. There's a QR code displayed there that will take you straight to that. You could also give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook or LinkedIn as well. I think we're just as Wildscreen on Facebook and LinkedIn. It's @wildscreen.org on Instagram. But yeah, have fun snapping. If you've got any questions, just let us know and we can help out. So yeah, thank you so much for joining. Oh. We'll also put this video on YouTube too. So if you want to share that as well with any colleagues as well, we'll send that out to everybody so that you can access it at a later date, or anybody who's not been able to attend this will be able to access it too. So they can listen to me awkwardly talking through all the results. Thank you everybody for coming today. It's really, really great to have you joining us. Yeah, and good luck. Hope it goes well.